Well, well, well. It's midwinter, you wouldn't think it is. But the thing about midwinter is you can actually start feeling spring. And if you look at the plants around you, you'll start seeing the buds. So today I want to look at a subject which I don't think many people have spoken about, because it's something new. It's the digital atomisation of society. You like that? Initially in the virtual, and then it spills over into the real world. It's an exceptionally important phenomenon which is having major social, cultural, and most importantly of all, political ramifications. The history of humanity has revolved around specific groups of people developing a common language, a common culture, a common way of thinking, inhabiting a fixed territory. Whether you call that tribal or clan or a state depends on what period of human evolution you are looking at. But what we've seen over the last 20 years is a new phenomenon sweep the world, and that's atomisation. An atomisation of culture and politics, to a significant degree, has occurred because of the creation of virtual platforms which can have an impact anywhere at the same time around the planet to anybody who has access to that particular platform. Now, many people think this is just a virtual concept, that somehow it has nothing to do with real life. The fact is that what we are seeing is a tsunami of virtual interaction sweep across the globe, creating new cultural and political norms which go way beyond facts and reality. So what we are seeing is a meshing of the virtual and the real. And this has been enhanced by the creation of algorithms which are solely designed to draw people's attention to these virtual platforms so they can sell you particular products, services, or political ideas. 30 years ago, in any sovereign nation state, the state understood that controlling the media was essential. Whether it's corporate control of the media, as we see in so-called parliamentary democracies, or control of the media in totalitarian regimes. That control led to what is described as the water cooler phenomenon. When people came to work, they discussed a common vision, which came to them through the media. And this common vision tended to create a common culture and a common ideology. An ideology and a culture which was accepted by a significant proportion of the population. Not everyone, but a significant section of the population. What the virtual platforms have done is allow the individual to control the type of information they are exposed to. This is what people call silo politics, or people living in silos. So what you can do is exactly what you could do in the Middle Ages. You can remove any contrary views, any norms, cultural norms, legal norms, moral norms, ethical norms, which have an impact on society and on the individual and on communities, and concentrate on the creation of a new norm which is intertwined with the virtual world that you are exposed to. What that means is that you create your own fantasies, you create your own facts, you create your own interpretations, which come directly from the influence that virtual platform has on you. So when we talk about an increase in racism or misogyny or different sexual practices that normally wouldn't be tolerated in a community, what we are seeing is the impact of that virtual platform. Unfortunately, or fortunately, if you own the virtual platform or you're a major shareholder in that virtual platform, what is important is not the content or the ethical or moral content of that content. What is important is the number of eyeballs which are fixated on that particular section of that particular virtual platform. The more eyeballs, the more you can charge for advertising, which is the lifeblood of these virtual platforms. So we are seeing a major transformation in the way people think. A major transformation in how communities function. A major transformation in the interaction which occurs between people within and within and outside specific communities. And these major transformations are driving us back into a real dark age, not a virtual dark age, because what's occurred in the virtual world is now becoming reality. And reality itself has been cast aside, has an inconvenient truth. And that's why in the 21st century, a century where more people are educated, more people are literate on the planet than has ever occurred in the history of humanity, we are seeing changes which defy reality. Changes which defy norms which have occurred as a result of tens of thousands of years of evolutionary forces, where certain types of human behaviour have evolved in order to protect the individual and the community in which that individual exists. So this atomisation, and that's the key word, this atomisation of society to the individual through a virtual platform has led to a significant degree to the political changes we see today, where we see things like truth, science, reality no longer relevant. And they're no longer relevant because of the atomisation that is occurring across the world. Now, this atomisation is much more pronounced in settler societies, that's societies that have been built on the destruction of First Nations people, because these settler societies have only existed for less than 500 years and do not have the same cultural framework that other societies which have existed for much longer. These intellectual changes have a profound effect on the type of society we are creating. And as we struggle, because of the domination of the economic system by a private investment for private profit ideology, as we struggle with this, and we're struggling with the consequences of this ideology, which is the climate emergency, we see significant sections of the population, possibly even a majority, refusing to accept the obvious, refusing to accept the decades of scientific effort that has gone into categorising the extent of the issues we face. At the same time, we see political structures disintegrate as people begin to lose faith in the political process. And instead of looking at the reasons they find themselves in that particular situation, and that is the domination of the world economy and the political processes by a small section of society that owns the means of production, distribution, exchange and communication, they look for scapegoats. And the virtual world is a mechanism by which you can create scapegoats and create a whole philosophical and ideological basis which in many regards rivals what we saw in Nazi Germany in the 20s and 30s and the rest of the world, which took up those ideologies which had nothing to do with factual norms and everything to do with an atomised ideology. But today, that atomised ideology is within all of us. And the more we rely on the virtual world and the virtual platforms to determine our discussions, to determine how we interact, to determine how we consume and how we produce, to determine our religious motivations and ideologies and political motivations and ideologies, we will see this planet plunged into a new dark age. Not just a new dark age because of the climate emergency and our inability and unwillingness to tackle that climate emergency, but a dark age which is a result of the atomisation of all the institutions and structures that we have built up over thousands of years in order to ensure that as a race we continued to survive and expand and enjoy the fruits of this planet. So the virtual world not only impinges on the real world in 2024, the virtual world has become the real world. No wonder half the American population believes in conspiracy theories that have no basis in reality. No wonder an increasing number of Australians are joining the same bandwagon, looking for convenient scapegoats to understand the situation they find themselves in, looking for political solutions which are based on the centralisation of power. No wonder in 2024 we find ourselves in such a parlous situation, not just in terms of politics, not just in terms of ideology, not just in terms of religion, but in terms of the type of societies we are able to lead because of the complete atomisation of society as a result of a push by an insignificant minority of people to maximise their profits at our expense, using virtual platforms which to a significant degree are part of this significant change to enrich themselves, not only at the expense of the individual, not only at the expense of communities, not only at the expense of the nation states, but at the expense of all the evolutionary solutions we have found through our experiences as a human race, to be denied our evolutionary advances in terms of our interactions within communities and the type of communities we have created in order to survive and prosper, is to deny us as the human race a future. So next time you turn on your little computer, next time you're on a virtual platform, next time you're looking at your mobile phone, think about your life. Is it a significant life which takes into account everything around you, or are you part of a silo which has been exploited by other people to increase their wealth and power?